Welcome to Series 2 of the PwC Global Risk Podcast. These podcasts are a suite of conversations designed to provide you with valuable insight and fresh perspective on how to manage risk in today's changing global landscape. My name is Frank Martins, and in this episode, I will be talking to Rob Mesereau, a partner in PwC and leader of our Connected Solutions practice, about enterprise risk management and the emerging technologies. Welcome, Rob. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Frank.
So, Rob, let me just start with some terminology. When we mean things like connected solutions, what would that actually mean to more of a lay person?
So connected solutions is really our way of talking about the Internet of Things, or IoT. But more broadly, when we think about IoT and how we deploy a connected solutions, really involves strategy, architecture, bringing in the right technology mix, delivering that, and then managing it on the back end. So it's a more holistic way of delivering an IoT solution.
So we oftentimes think of technology as a way of improving efficiency, providing insights. Can you give us some examples of who's leading the way in moving towards that IoT thinking?
You know, when we think about these things, so let's take the objective of a smart campus or a smart city. So when we think about the issues that surround a smart campus, for example, it really comes down to identity, access, commerce, security, and energy. And then once you layer in technology over that, say biometrics and beacons and sensors and things that we can deploy to create behavioral patterns so we know who's moving around our environments and what they're really looking for, that's where you start to change things. It's when you get to that data intelligence layer. And at the end of the day, it's all about the data. That's when we really start to see the benefit of IoT.
So we oftentimes think from a risk perspective of using data and insights from that data to make better decisions, recognizing there's also risks that come with acquiring that data. How do you balance those two relationships out?
Anytime you're dealing with data, you have to contemplate risk. And that's something that we think about right at the beginning. So we think about the risk factor right up front. The regulatory environment is changing quickly. It's changing here in the United States. It's changing very much in Europe right now with GDPR. And it's something we monitor, we watch, and we factor into every solution we build.
We were talking in a previous podcast about disruption, and we were talking about technology disruption as well as business disruption. And I'm wondering what your perspective is on IoT, whether you see it as a technology disruption, is it a business disruption to the entire business model?
So disruption, and when I think about disruption, it's very much a positive. It's a societal disruption. So this is a trend that's moving. You know, a lot of people talk about billions of connected devices. That's a reach. We're not seeing billions of connected devices. We're not really seeing true smart cities yet either, but it is all starting to happen. It's happening quickly. Let me give you an example. So we're working with an island nation, and they wanted to create a data intelligence layer so that they could be more efficient and in terms of how they run their government and how the island operates and how they understand and think about growth and the future. So we've deployed an IoT network that covers the entire island, and we're able to monitor how many people are coming on to the island. We do that through biometrics and facial recognition. We can accurately count the people coming onto the island, which was their initial ask. We said, well, how about if we also tell you approximate age? What if we tell you gender? So then you get this basic demographic, this basic picture of people who are visiting the island. So when we were deploying the network, we put in air quality sensors. And you started to paint this picture, right? So if 10,000 more people come onto an island in a day, does the air quality get worse? If the air quality gets worse, do less kids get on a school bus? Are we making the kids sick? Does crime go up? And then you can start to really automate a lot of things. So, you know, if 20,000 extra people are coming to your island, or once you hit 20,000, you start deploying more police, or you think about waste removal in a different way. And you think about, okay, how can we automate waste removal to where we're not just sending trucks around to pick up trash randomly. We've got sensors in the trash cans that are reading the density level and the fill level of all these trash cans. So when you get in a truck in the morning, your route changes every day. And it's just much more efficient, much more cost-effective way to operate. And that doesn't matter if you're a city, an island, or a large business.
So we oftentimes talk in the risk conversation about risk to executing, which I think you've done a great job of covering, but also the risk around strategy. How much are you seeing companies actually revise or revisit their strategies because of the emergence of connected solutions?
So again, there's inherent risk when you talk about data. You've got to think about it often and early. You can't just create a solution and then say, okay, we've gauged the risk, we're comfortable with everything, let's deploy it, and then we can forget about it. That's not how it works. It's an evolving ecosystem. The regulatory environments change, the risk changes, and as you expand and as you deploy these platforms, they're more than just point technology solutions. And that's what's really slowed IoT to this point. That's why we don't have billions of connected devices. It's because people think about, oh, I just want to read the liquid in that tank. Well, that's great. That's a point-to-point solution. It's simple. But if you wanted to correlate and think about, okay, how do I get the liquid in the tank? How quickly does the liquid dissipate? What's the hours to empty? How do I put some machine learning in there? So I think about the maintenance and predictive maintenance, et cetera, and it becomes much more useful and valuable because data is more powerful in the presence of more data than a point solution. And that's where we're moving. So we're moving from a point solution up the chain, and as you move up the chain, the risk gets more riskier, but the reward gets bigger.
So let me put you on the spot and ask you to sort of think forward 3 to 5 years. Do you think we'll be at those billions of connected devices at that point?
Absolutely. I think we'll continue to move up the stack. I like to tell people right now we're at the foundational layer. We're trying to get to those billions of connected devices, and we do that by making dumb things smart and connecting that and creating an intelligence layer. As we move up, and the top of the pyramid may be 5G right now. So as we move towards 5G, we're talking about some modest 5G deployments in 2019. As we move into the 2020s, and things get more complex, and you think about really powerful mobile networks that have low latency, and we start to see autonomous vehicles, and we start to see drone fleet management. This is going to get very, very robust in terms of number of connections very quickly.
Rob, I want to thank you for joining me today and talking about the connected solutions on our podcast series. If you would like to hear other episodes in our Global Risk podcast series or would like to subscribe to future episodes, please visit us at pwc.com/globalriskpodcast. This podcast is brought to you by PwC. All rights reserved. This podcast is for general information purposes only and should not be used as a substitute for consultation with professional advisors.